real nice. They had their families out welcoming them back when they got back from North Carolina. He may want to elaborate on that more. Our National Night Out's tomorrow night, and we're going to have it for the first time at the courtyard, Clear Courtyard, and starting at 5 o'clock, a little bit earlier, but we're going to continue until 8. We've got quite a few exhibitions that are going to be out there. The fire department's going to do a live extrication demonstration, so I think it should be good. I hope y'all can come out. That's all I got.
Jim? Just the street light ordinance that was going to change in subdivision regulations. That was on y'all to vote on, but since it's in the subdivision regulations, the planning commission is the only body that votes on subdivision regulations. So just want to let y'all know that it was passed. Y'all will still see all the applications come through, obviously, but it's worded that the applications are to be put in after the final plat, and that's all it really says. So, and I don't know if, I'm assuming Waterford's going to be tabled tonight. I don't see John here, but as far as I know, last I heard it was going to be tabled. Dunsmore, I don't know. But like I said, I don't see him here. So.
You had expressed to me that he turned the wrong maps into you.
From the wrong maps into us.
So, okay.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Okay, can I ask a question about Waterford? Can I just ask? And it's just because I don't understand some of the project, but if he was a good faith, couldn't he have already started putting money aside to the city to secure that second entrance?
That has to be bonded, and there's a proper procedure for that. It's not really something we can take partial payment for.
But he hasn't even.
I mean, I can't answer for his personal finances, but he could save the money up and bond it. That's been years and years
I just want to make sure
of
that he has
unfulfilled
not-
promises to the city about that second entrance.
And he hasn't done anything to.
Yeah, he has done something. He brought us money and then took it back. Our attorney said we had to give it back, and that's wrong. So
I would like to.
it's just not right. Bill?
So I talked with Kelly a little bit before meeting, and I guess it was last council meeting, they were a couple of questions wanting to pull in the signal at 16 and 31, and she said they'd rolled over some money from last year to possibly do that.
Yeah, 400,000 was moved over into the capital project fund. It is available.
So while you chew on that, I would at least like to get the approval to start the engineering on it. I think the engineering was around 12, is what I'd asked for, 12 or 12.5. Then we can at least start the engineering on it. Engineering can take a little time, and it cost estimates and get bids out. We could go ahead and start that. I don't have final state approval. I checked back Tuesday, and they still had not discussed it in detail to give the final approval, but we could at least get the engineering part of it started. Because that will take a little while to get all that nailed out.
I jotted a note down on this where we can modify the agenda.
Okay.
Did you get with the state on some funds? See if they was gonna have funding?
The state has no money, but once I get an engineering cost estimate, county is agreed to go in with us with that project, and there's also another project they've agreed to kind of help partner on, actually a couple of projects, so yeah. But they don't want to, and I don't blame them, don't want to commit to any hard dollars until we get a true cost estimate on it. We need
Did you have a price on the engineering?
12, I think I asked for 12.5.
12,000 even.
12,000 even? Okay, 12,000 even for the engineering. And then we can get a real cost estimate. Now, we'll have some costs, because we need to move our entrance and do all that.
So how long do you think if we approve that, how long will it take the engineering to get completed?
Not a clue.
Okay.
Not a clue. I'd have to get him to look over his proposal again and then put it in his, and then I can get a timeline from him. So I don't want to speak for him.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, I think we'll move forward. We'll get the engineering. We'll get the cost estimate. And then we can get a timeline from him. So I don't want to speak for him.
So I don't want to speak for him.
Okay.
I think that's all I got.
No, sir. I don't have anything.
James, do you have anything? I sometimes forget about you in the box back there.
Not other than what Kelly said, the project seems to be going well, so that's all we can ask for, and everything else is just moving smoothly.
All right, we'll hear from Chief Kendrick, I guess, when he comes back in, so, okay?
Well, Bill just answered the questions I was about to ask him, update on the project at Highway 31 and 16, because there was an accident there today. And so we're anxiously awaiting getting something done for that intersection. Now, we also discussed the $226,000 for the sale of those 38 acres. Have we decided that we're using that, part of that, to help finance the intersection?
That money is in the coffers, so it is available. And Kelly ended the year in a positive number, so we have the ability to pay for that if, you know, if it's a reasonable cost estimate, I guess. I think we're safe to say that we can at least get the engineering underway. I've got it on my agenda to add the engineering and get your blessing on that, so I think we'd be safe to say we could look forward, coming with the information I have and the numbers that I've seen on the final cost, but that's what Bill needs to get.
Okay. And I just had a question for our attorney, Attorney Kilgore. Could you please explain the ordinance, the amendment to zoning ordinance, non-conformities, the non-conforming lots of record?
I'm sorry, can you give me more context as far as?
Is this the one that you prepared for us, the 2024-10, the amendment to the zoning?
Yes, I'm sorry, this is for the, are you referencing the Dunsmore subdivision master plan approval?
Right.
Yes, ma'am, I did prepare.
No,
No, you're asking about the non-conforming lot? Yeah, that's,
Okay, thank you.
when we made the major changes a couple of years ago,
Uh-huh.
it basically made most of the lots we have in every subdivision, and especially like in Brentwood Hills and the older subdivisions, they're basically non-conforming now. They're too small or something to that effect. So what that ordinance will say is anything platted before that date that it was passed, anything platted before that date will go by the older rules, just as far as the lot. Anything platted after that date will go by the new rules. So that's basically it.
Oh, okay.
what we were having trouble with on some of those, the new square footage and sizes were bigger than you could actually put on these lots, the pre-existing lots that were, some are behind the school, between the intermediate school and the park in that area, some are in Brentwood Hills, some of the older areas of Calera, it was just impossible. So every lot was having to come
Get a variance.
before the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. And Tip, are you on that board?
Yes, sir.
I mean, they were hearing these cases,
Every month.
Every month almost.
you know, day in and day out. So this kind of settles that once and for all if you've got those old lots.
And it'll cover things like, say, a house burned down in Camden Cove. It'll let that person build that house back like it was, in the same footprint, and everything like that.
It's something that we needed to do. Cut down some of the chaos.
The facades, it does not pertain to facades. Unless it was a rebuild, unless it's a rebuild. It says in there that, say, a house burned down or a tornado took it out, they could build it back like it was.
So if you had a brand new house, you're gonna build beside two houses that's got siding. So you could build a new house,
No, not a new house,
not a new house. You gotta build it by the
by the next
new regulations.
On facade,
Facade.
not on square footage. I think this helps our cause. It helps
It helps a variance for
Yeah.
more than anything.
Okay. That's all I had, thank you.
Debbie?
I just have a couple things. I'm excited about the traffic light at 42 and 70. Do we know when the engineering work will start on that one?
He is starting on it, but I don't know when it'll be done. I don't know that, I can touch base. They'll work them together, so.
Okay, that's fine. The other thing that I'm a little bit of concern about the pavilion at Main Street. I saw on social media where someone, it alluded as if they were wanting to plan a party at 11 o'clock at the pavilion. And that was a little concerning to me. And not only that, it seems like we've had some, we certainly encourage the public to use it, but there needs to be some rules. I've seen where some birthday parties have just popped up at the pavilion. And not only that, when Main Street has events, they encountered a birthday party trying to be held at the same time. So do we have any forthcoming rules on how to govern that pavilion as far as rental and that kind of issue with Main Street?
Seth and I have been trying to come up, of course, I've heard from Kenny and I've talked, I've communicated about it, but I've heard from different people about, concerns. Anyway, some people want to put it on a rental schedule, some people don't want it rented. It's for city functions and city events only. So I've heard a lot of different ideas. We need to come up with something that either permits or prohibits use of it in some guidelines. And I don't have the answers. I understand that city events, our events that we host, or Main Street host on our behalf, I think those type of events, take priority, so to speak. Jackie, I know you keep a calendar of what you've got going. We need to somehow merge that somebody's got to keep a calendar. And our pavilions and park facilities all run out of the Park and Rec, and that's where our calendar is kept. That calendar is not kept at City Hall, so I guess,
Well, since the main events are being hosted on the city behalf by Main Street, is it maybe they should maintain the calendar?
I would propose a happy medium, if you could kind of hear us out. I think that the pavilion being the amenities package, the city center, if you will, for the entire city, is really not the best place for a small birthday party. So I would say happy medium is, yes, it could be an event venue, a rental, but only for a large-scale event. We anticipate and hope to have it full all the time with city events, to where I think people are going to really kind of know that it's not available most weekends, most times anyway. And I think some signage and some social media, we would be happy to handle that and manage that. Because I think for birthday parties, I think the smaller things that our community is looking to go there for, I think that can be found pretty easily in all of our parks.
we do the community center building down here below the school on 31. And that rental is, I think you can get rental for half day or an entire day. We've got some rules.
And
So
it's also
if you say that this pavilion and playground are gonna be used, if hypothetically you say we're gonna put that on our rental schedule and you can rent it a half a day or full day, whatever, if it's not being occupied by our event, you're gonna have some real small birthday parties that occupy a large building, and it's a detraction for somebody else.
And then it would be
Somebody else won't
difficult to
come.
police too. It'd be difficult in that situation to try to turn people away, to keep it private.
Somebody's gonna have to do the dirty work. Somebody's gonna have to police this thing. And it needs it It's a very nice facility.
We
We have
don't want it
nice
torn up.
equipment. We have some LCD screens hanging up. I'm sympathetic with the fact that we do need it watched and
Yes.
policed and
Who's watching our other park areas that we can rent out our pavilions? Who's the one that's in charge of making sure that that person has a permit?
park, they go through Park and Rec. And, you know, there's not any kind of formal policing of that.
So I can have a party out there and you never know I'm having because we go on the weekends. Nobody's policing the pavilions that we already have for rent. Nobody's policing them so they can do what they want to.
And
So
then,
I think this pavilion and this Main Street ought to strictly be Main Street, making sure that it's taken care of, the upkeep's taken care of, people's not climbing all over the top of them and tearing our facility. We're still under construction, we're not finished. And I personally don't want to rent it and take away from all of these kids that's having one of the best times that they could have down there playing on the playground. You want to rent it out for a birthday party, and Susie comes over here and she ain't in the birthday party, you gonna tell that kid she can't go down the swing? So, or the slide, I'm not for that.
And I agree, and I would propose not to
Just
rent it for
don't
birthday
rent
parties
it.
at all.
That's my thing, it's not for any party, it's for our city events at this time. I just don't wanna, I see a lot of kids there, 40 to 50 kids there on Saturdays and Sundays with their families. I also seen other families coming in with barbecue grills and things like that, having a party.
Well, we're gonna need to post some
We
signage.
got to do
We'd be
something.
happy to take care of that. I think that's important. We don't wanna tear anything up.
So I would like to see the Main Street group, which is Jackie, Dennis, you the president of it, make sure that that place is taken care of. I'm already seeing the fence coming apart from where Seth, I guess Seth put the fence together. They numerous pickets that's already leaning over the gates. The wells has already come loose on the gates. I emailed Seth 2 weeks ago about this, and the longer you wait, the worse it's gonna get. We got to keep it up, and that's not keeping it up. We got to step up the pace and I have heard from all of those citizens that come down there, they can't believe what the city has done for them to have a nice place like this to go to. And I've heard that out of a lot of people, and that's good to walk up to people that don't even know that this is here, and then they finally figure out it's there. I do want to thank the council and the mayor for taking it to that level. But I am strictly against renting. That's just my say-so.
You know, somebody's got to explain to these, obviously, children, they not understand, but maybe somebody needs to tell them how to open the gate. The locks on the gate are very aggravating, and I think we've been criticized for the locks on the little gates.
And today, they took off, they wanted the gates taken down. I said, it's for the safety of the kid. We're not taking them down. But
You have to have some safety type latching locks. You have to have that. But yet, I've always been told you can tear up a steel ball with a rubber hammer if you
And
want
it's
to.
happening.
And it's happening right before our eyes, and it's a shame. Because I go down there and see these kids just running wide open into the pickets, and they'll bend those pickets.
so I'd like to put the responsibility on the Main Street group to help monitor, make sure the TV, they gotta know where to go to come to turn the TV on. Everybody can't get in the electrical box
They
hunting
shouldn't be.
stuff and prowling around, we're gonna get somebody injured.
We've had that we'll get
That
that
needs to
happening.
be the Main Street group that's in charge of that, I feel. I just want to say something.
Not only that, they have moved tables, not just picked the tables up, but scarred the tables, drug them across that sealed concrete, so it's just one thing after another. We just need somebody to be able to police it. If they see something going on, call the police department and ask for assistance to get them removed or something. I don't know what the best solution is, but I hate for it to get torn up this early in the game.
We need to take it serious, and it's a sensitive subject, it needs to be well taken care of, so if you want that, Executive Dennis, if you want that responsibility, I personally have no problem with you kind of overseeing it. And I'm not a proponent for renting it, for revenue, unless it was a fundraiser for the Main Street, but
The only thing I would suggest is if it was for a large event, let's say somebody wanted to do a wedding and they wanted to have an outdoor wedding. I mean, if it was a high enough dollar figure, let's say it's a $500 rental for 3 hours, something that more parallels the community center or the event center downtown. I mean, there are plenty of venues that are available for rent. But that would be the only thing that I would say for the pavilion. I tell people no, every single day I get emails or phone calls about renting it or reserving it for a birthday party. And we're already saying no, that, at this time, we're not doing that.
I've heard that it's kind of off the subject about that, but I've heard that the homecoming dance was going to be at the pavilion.
It is.
Is it?
It is. Yeah,
Huh.
the school approached and needed a place and worked with the police department and,
I know that the parade's going to end, I guess, at the pavilion, and it's going to have a pep rally. So that's the whole disconnect. Nobody's told the city that.
Is it on that calendar that was gave to us?
yes, sir.
The homecoming dance?
The parade, the fifth quarter, and the dance. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I can imagine
We
what that's
discussed
going
it in the
to
last council meeting.
be. I can imagine how that's going to go with the school. Chief, I don't know if you want to, you're going to have,
And we're concerned about it. I definitely think, if it's a school event, I could bring people in, I could bring SROs there, there'll be overtime, but, because we normally do work the dance anyway, but my concern, I did talk to Main Street about, my concern was access, because in that setting, kids can go to their car and come back, and at the indoor events, at the indoor dance, if they go out, you don't let them come back in. And that was my concern, and I was assured that wouldn't be, that there would be controlled access there, which we can't do. We're not gonna have the bodies to control access to that big outdoor venue.
you got so many gateways, how do you control access to that?
Dee's been working with the principal.
Yeah, we had a meeting after we talked with Chief with Robbie and some of the other school officers, as well as Ms. McCaleb, the principal, and mapped out a plan as well as her team for teachers and staff. So they'll have an entry point, they'll enter through the alley, they'll have a way they're going to block off one way in, one way out. They're going to have extra school staff there to bring the students to their vehicles if they need to go to their vehicle for something, but after one time, you're gone. So they're bringing in those things, and we'll have extra lighting as well. We're bringing some of those lightings. Been working with Tyler on Parks and Rec too, to make sure there's accurate lightings for the officers to be able to see and everything down there. The students are really excited, the school's really excited. Their theme is A Night Under Paris Sky, so it fits really well downtown. And so they were very excited. They were last minute looking to secure a location.
Okay.
So what time does this dance start?
I believe she said the dance starts at 7 p.m. So it'll be when most of the Main Street area has already closed for the evening, so they'll be set up, decorated. And they'll
Will
have
the
it all out.
playground be blocked off, because we don't get a lot of teenagers on the playground?
Yes, I was gonna we'll have the playground secured just like we did for the 5th quarter the last time, the last home game, and the same for this Friday as well.
It's a busy week. We've got National Night
Yes.
Out and then 3 days for the high school. Do you want to go ahead and talk about the parade?
Yeah, they're excited to bring back the parade that used to be the homecoming parade in Calera when the high school was on 31. Working with the chief, we're doing from the community center to the pavilion to keep the route condensed for the time frame. The students are excited. They've got some doing trucks and banners for grade levels, and then they'll be marching around with the teams ending right there to the parade. Parks and Rec is joining in. They'll have the Pee Wee sports involved as well. I've been working with the school, with Chief and Robbie and Parks as well, all together on that.
All right.
Bringing back the Let's Celebrate Calera as a community and encourage everybody to come out, cheer them on, wear your Calera blue, and cheer everybody for the day. The band will be performing both at National Night Out, will be the jazz band, and the full marching band will be there for the pep rally.
And I have other event things, but I'll wait until you do call me. Thank you.
All right. I know gentlemen's not direct. Kenny?
I've got one thing. I spoke with Corey Ellis about exit 228. Corey got back with me after his meeting in Montgomery and asked me to talk to the council, to you, Mayor, about getting our grant writer to go ahead and start or write a grant for our lighting at exit 228, and he would support it with a letter to help push it as far as he can to get that done. So I'd like to see our grant writer get started on this. DOT. I just like this, I think it's,
You will, if you got that.
I got the number. One other thing I'd like to bring up is our city's grown so much that a 45-minute work session before our council meeting is tough. I'm wanting to see our council, the people that can be here, and us have a work session on like a Thursday afternoon at 6:30. Let's have a work session, and the ones that can make it, and the ones that don't make it, they can catch back up at this same work session. It's a lot to run a city that's this big with a 45-minute work session. So I would like for our council to vote on having a work session on a Thursday afternoon at 6:30. If that fits everybody's needs to be able to be here, but the ones that don't make it, that's okay. At least the ones that can, we can discuss business. So I'd like to put that out there to the council. And that's all down there.
Kevin?
Yes, sir. Mayor, you instructed me and asked me at the last council meeting to contact the soccer team and see if we could, invite them here for recognition or to acknowledge them. And they said that on the 21st would be suitable for them to appear before the council, as boys and girls. And also, I'm glad to see the chief, our fire chief, made it in. And I just want to express to you how proud that I am to see you guys and the job that you did. We're grateful and we're thankful for all our employees for what they do here for the city of Calera. But what you guys did and went above and beyond the call of duty and to serve and help someone in time of need That's what this is all about. And I was just praying for them, and we'll continue to pray for them because of the things that they have witnessed. And I know it have to be devastating, but just want to let them know how proud that I am of them.
We'll be here for them in just a minute. We'll get back to them.
That's all.
Alan?
Yeah, I just want to follow what Councilman was saying to Chief Kendrick. I've spoken with him about it as well. It's not just the immediate assistance they gave, but he has a long-term plan to assist these people in the future. He was mentioning to me about, the initial push for people to help is always great, but then it kind of fades. And he was very touched by some of the people he directly interacted with and who asked him to not forget them. And so that touched him. He wants to make sure that we have some longevity to the assistance. So everybody kind of be thinking about that because he's going to, I think, put something out a little later about that. Thank you for what they did. That's all I got.
Ernest? Chief, you want to bring us up to speed?
Sure.
You got a few minutes?
Yes, sir, I can talk for a little bit. First of all, just let me say our appreciation to the council, to the city, for giving us the resources to go out and help. So what we did is, in the fire service, we have different regions in the state. Law enforcement is involved in that also in a different capacity, but we have different skill sets and we build teams. So we were part of a Swiftwater rescue team. Then we took 3 teams from Alabama. Our team was Calera, Hoover, Birmingham, and then Prattville, Vestavia, and Mountain Brook were another team, and then Mobile's task force was there with us. But we all stayed together in the same fire station. We all worked together really as one big team, but we had our own different things we did. But when the guys went up Friday, they got there about 2 o'clock Friday morning. They slept a couple of hours, and then 2 Chinook helicopters landed at the school they were staying in, and they said, grab your stuff. And we didn't even take our boats. They stayed, and they took the gear they could carry on their backs, and they got dropped into an area, a Garin Creek Fire District. It's in Buncombe County. It's about 20 miles east of Asheville, just above Chimney Rock and Lure Lake. So if you've been watching social media, you've seen a lot of that area. And they were actually the first people in there, and they had to sleep on concrete floors with just their sleeping bag for a couple of nights until they could get some temporary roads cut in to bring all the equipment in. But their primary mission when they got there is they just did an immediate search of the area, and then as time went on, that expanded to more of a recovery effort, searching big debris piles. When I say debris piles, I mean bigger than this room, that were full of houses and trees and victims. And then we did a lot of air helicopter work. We would fly guys up into the mountains, and they would search houses, and they would bring people out or take medical equipment in. So it was a very diverse range of things that we did. We even got to deliver some hay to some horses and had to carry it in about a quarter mile, and then about an hour later they started airdropping it in. So there's a little bit of humor there amongst all that. But I just want you guys to know this. I went up on Tuesday to take some equipment. I just stayed for 3 days and helped them work. And me seeing those guys work firsthand, and also from the other team leaders from the other teams, they all told me how hard the Calera team worked. And everybody up there was working. I don't want to disparage anybody because everybody worked from daylight to dark, and they just quit only when they made us quit in the evenings. But they saw some bad things. In the community we were working in, it was really just a tidal wave that came down the hill, and it was over in a couple of minutes, but it washed away probably 20 houses in that area. When I say washed away, it washed all the dirt and everything. It's just a canyon of rock now. And we were finding victims 3 and 4 miles away. So that just tells you, and the deputy chief from the fire department, he got washed away right in front of all the folks at the fire station because they had evacuated over there, and they were watching him trying to get people out of the houses. So what you see on the news and what you hear, it really doesn't do it justice until you see it. But these were good people. Everybody that was in that community is related, and they were living in tents right there at the fire station. Some of them were sleeping inside. They were all related, and they were out there working with us. They cooked for us. They got their heavy machinery out, the ones that still had anything, and they were helping us dig through the piles. So, based on what Alan said, before I left, I talked to one of the ladies, and it was actually her grandmother that we found several miles downstream. And I asked her before I left, I said, "Do you need anything?" And she grabbed me, and she said, "Don't y'all forget about us." And so, what all the fire departments that were involved, we kind of want to, this is really in the early stages of just planning and thought process. But this initial push of aid that's going in right now, that will go away. And these folks, they're going to need help for the long term. So what we want to do is maybe a little bit further down the road, have some kind of an organized effort from our community. And when I say our community, the Central Alabama area, because we lived with these folks for a week and we got to know them, and they took good care of us. And so we want to reach out to them and see what we can do to help them. But again, y'all just pray for them, pray for our guys. None of us have ever seen anything like that. I've been to several disasters, and I've done this for 30 years, and I've never seen anything that devastating. I've never seen such a tragic loss of life at such a large scale. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you for heading that up and being a part of it. You know, we have opportunities in life, and we're all called to do something. I think it's important that we continue to help. We've got another strong storm coming across Florida.
We've already activated 3 Swiftwater teams. We're not in the rotation for this one, but Alabama's going to have a lot of resources down there as well. That's right. Let me add one more thing. When the guys came back Saturday morning, the police gave them an escort from about 459. Got them on into town, so we appreciate that.
Chief, do we have a drop-off, a special area of drop-off where people can donate water or supplies or anything? Do you have something set for that now?
We do not have anything. There's a lot of places around town. Our thoughts were if we do something like that, we're going to do it a little bit later on. But I will tell you, Southeast Shelby had a drop-off in Columbiana, and we put that out on social media, and a lot of Calera folks took stuff down there. And the reason I was late coming in is they've got 4 trailers up there, and they were trying to get to the fire station where we were working, and I was trying to map them in there. But that group, and I know a lot of that stuff came from Calera also, but a lot of that stuff's going to go to that fire station, and then they're just going to make their way over to East Tennessee, and they've got another place they're going to pick up one of those packed meal teams and help move them while they're up there. So there's already a lot of aid from this area that's up there.
We have an officer going up with Samaritan's Purse Friday. Now, it's not part of the PD, he's doing it on his own. But I was going to actually make a post tomorrow that we're going to collect items at the PD for him to take in a trailer. But again, that's not a city effort, that's a private effort, but it's one of our folks.
So if anybody's interested in giving warm clothing, boots, blankets, because it started to cool off just while the leaves changed while we were up there. So they're going to be in cold weather before long. And these folks are living in tents.
So if someone's got something they'd like to give, where would you like for it to come to? To the
For
police station?
this week, we're gonna have a trailer go up on Friday. And I think what all they need right now, diapers and.
Anything for babies.
Yeah, they need baby food, diapers was a big need they had.
Warm clothing,
Yeah.
blankets. I think for the immediate future, the water and food is pretty much taken care of. They were flying food in by helicopter to us already, so. Yeah, this is all being done by private agencies and just folks like us that are going up there. So.
I'll post something tomorrow with specifics on what they've asked him. It's through Samaritan's Purse, and they've given him a list of things that they need, so I'll post that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mayor. Stacy just said that Chick-fil-A and Publix are taking donations right now also. So,
Purchase something that you can donate to the American Red Cross.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess those are monetary donations. Chick-fil-A and Publix, both doing monetary donations for relief.
Well, probably I would come before you and just want to stop and pause and thank you for what you do for us, Father. Sometimes we don't understand the devastation that goes on around us, but we do know that you're in control, Father. We ask that anyone that can help these people through these difficult times to do so, Father. We thank you so much for protecting our personnel that went and that may go in the future, Father. We also pray for the people that are in the line of the approaching hurricane to the Florida Panhandle, Father. We just again ask you for your hedge of protection. And we ask these things in your Son's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the agenda I have before me, we need to approve this agenda with the addition of the engineering for 1631 added to it. Do I hear a motion to approve this agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Need the motion for approval of the minutes and dispense the minutes from our meeting and work session on September 16th.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have on the agenda the ordinance PZ 2024-09 is on here from Waterford LLC. It's Highway 70 Waterford PUD North, the original Waterford subdivision master plan approval. That is on the agenda. And I think there's some complication with information that was submitted to you, is that correct, Kevin?
Yes, they sent, because of the wrong map for Waterford North.
When the notices were sent out the other day, a couple of weeks ago, the map was not the same one y'all saw the last time. So I guess, Brian, you can enlighten me, but this needs to be tabled and brought back in 2 weeks for the technicality of putting the right map in the packet.
And that was our recommendation.
Okay. So you're asking to table it?
I'm asking to table it and come back in 2 weeks.
Is 2 weeks enough notification? I thought that was problem? Is it giving us ample time?
7 days.
Yeah, I think we can get it done, but it's the time limit.
So you'll be back on the agenda with this in 2 weeks from tonight?
Yes.
That's just one, right?
Well, Adams is going to object to Dunsmore being brought up without both of them being at the same time. So due to Adams' objection, I think you would, without dragging this out a long time, let's do them both the same night. If that's okay with you guys.
You have the original north subdivision as one item, and you have the Dunsmore subdivision as another item.
Correct.
And you're asking to,
Table both of them, come back in 2 weeks. I have no problem with the Dunsmore approval. Or as written, maybe clarification on one thing,
all right? So.
I would say that out of an abundance of caution, it's probably better to move them both, to have them both heard. And in fact, Adams had reached out to me, and it was my understanding that they were both going to be moved tonight. So I made represented to Adams that that was going to happen. So I think that would probably be the best course.
Is there anything we need to do tonight?
I don't think so.
His request,
No.
his request at the table.
Other than just to continue to do this.
So whoever's here for that, public hearing is a big table to the next meeting, please. Put that on your calendar. Moving on to resolution 2024-47 is,
Mayor, there was a citizen in the, out here in the audience that wanted to speak regarding that.
I just had a question, since it's gonna be tabled anyway, if it could maybe be looked at to rearrange the area that ties the second entrance to that old agreement, because that old agreement no longer meets fire code for the second entrance. It's too close, I mean, I've mentioned that every single time that I've come forward, that it's 1,000 feet closer than it's supposed to be, according to D-107 of the 2018 International Fire Code.
I think when the subdivision was originally platted, I think he's using what space he has. Do you have additional highway frontage?
But it's the measurement from one corner to the other corner, and it's supposed to be 1/2 of that, and it's 1,000 feet too close. And we talked about this every time that we've been here. And if a new ordinance is being put forward, then wouldn't it make sense to just say that the second entrance should be constructed in accordance to current codes and whatnot? Because, I mean, it's not y'all's fault that the entrance isn't there, it's someone else's fault. So it should meet the code that is now, not the code that was then, because it's not your fault that it wasn't put in then.
Can the code do that, I guess?
Yes, it can be. I mean, if you look at the GIS, it just has to be 1,000 feet further. And if you look at the original village plat, like not the one that's mentioned in the map, but the one that's before that, the conceptual plan, it actually has it further down. When it's still listed that there was going to be a Shelby County school, it had it further down.
That's something that the chief, our chief would look at.
I would have to reserve an opinion for that. Here, about having to take up an executive session on it, but it is worth a quick look, and I can circulate an opinion as to whether or not it needs to be amended anyway for that issue, the fire code.
So then instead of, and I know we talked about the next meeting, is that going to give you enough time
Oh, yes, absolutely.
between then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this. I just want to make sure that I can send you something that confirms what I think to be the answer.
Good.
Brian, I haven't seen any change in the 2014 agreement. Mr. Ringman put the bond money in place. Is this something that you all are working on, or at this point? Because he continues to come back. And I've been sitting here thinking that you and Reamer and our mayor is working on putting something in place, which it is in place in 2014. But what happens to, prior to that, if Mr. Reamer sells to Adams, who's the responsible party at that point?
Well, I will say that the way we structured the ordinance that is now before you, now being tabled, includes any successor interests that might take over, essentially the shoes of Waterford. So we've tried our best to address that. But aside from that, I understand that there was the additional condition that we make sure that any sort of bonding of the current streets for construction needs to be done, pursuant to declare section 6.23, which provides for bonding at least 175%, 100% wear, et cetera. So all the concerns that we've listed in these last couple of meetings, I think that we've addressed them in this new ordinance. However, this is a new one. As far as the fire code, that's something that I want to make sure that I get to y'all, and it's something I can get back very quickly within the next 2 days, because I want y'all to know that, make sure y'all get the right answer on this. And I hate, sometimes, shooting from my hip when I want to make sure that I've got you the right answer. Sometimes it's better to, like the old saying goes, do you want it to be fast or do you want it to be right? And I think that if you give me 1 day, I can get you the right answer on that. And that's the last step, I think, as far as if there's anything that needs to be changed from the ordinance between now and the 14th. But we have plenty of time to get this thing finalized on October 21st. And I think we can get the notices out. So hopefully this will be a final resolution on both of these issues.
Thank you.
Resolution 2024-47 is the request to vacate the street Lovelady Properties LLC and Showtime Properties LLC. You've got that in your documents there. If there's any questions at this time, we'll address those. If not, I do this one need unanimous consent.
I make a motion for unanimous consent, 2024-47.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of unanimous consent, say aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. I need a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have a ordinance PZ 2024-10. This is a public hearing. At this time, it's the amendment to the planning and zoning ordinance, non-conformity. Is this something that has to be decided on in this board?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
this is
the-
changing the zone, actual zoning book, yes.
Okay, the other.
The other was
It's all here,
subdivision,
it's all-
yeah, subdivision.
Okay. This is the blocks of record.
So I was understanding, Kevin, on these non-conforming lots, that the zoning would look at it in the area, if you had siding, a house was siding on this side of you, and a house was siding on that side, then that would be part of this ordinance here. Now you're telling me that don't apply, the cosmetics don't apply. So now you gotta go back and you gotta do the brick.
Yes. That was our understanding of how it needed to be done, that y'all wanted to keep that facade rule, but still allow the house to be built on that lot. Because, as of now, they have to get a variance every time they want to build a house on a lot that doesn't conform anymore. They have to go to the variance
But you can
board.
still go up for a variance on it.
Technically, yeah.
This is to do with the square footage fitting the lot.
Right.
That's what you have the most concerns with.
That's where the problem
And the
is.
setbacks, everything else too, so.
This is a public hearing on the subject in the council. Anybody got any questions or comments?
I think that just one thing, Kevin, you may want to point out to the council is about if the owner of that property owns the adjacent lot.
Yes, that's correct. If the owner owns two lots side by side, they will be treated as one lot. Even if they're platted as two lots, they're treated as one lot.
Most of those is 50-foot lots.
And then they vary all over the place, yeah. It's
A
all-
lot of different,
There's
a lot of different lot dimensions.
Yeah, a lot of different lots.
If, nobody else has comments, we need to vote for unanimous consent.
I move for unanimous consent.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second for unanimous consent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You abstain?
My opinion is that I'm a builder, and I don't want to impose on anything that's been part of that.
Can we still vote for unanimous consent and then abstain for the motion?
As long as it don't interfere with me, I'm okay with it.
I don't think, you have to have unanimous consent in order to move forward. So what you, by saying that would essentially mean that you have to have a second reading of the ordinance.
So this is moved to the next
Yes.
meeting.
I'm going yes.
So,
Correct.
Well,
yes. for
We
the-
do have unanimous consent. Now I need a motion.
No, there were not, if he
He changed
abstains,
his vote.
he did. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Would you like us to do a roll call vote?
I think that would be best.
Ernest,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Cost,
Yes.
Fires,
Yes.
Ms. Turner.
Yes.
So now I need a motion to adopt.
Also move.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 2024-48 is IT surplus inventory. You've got a list of that here. So your motion to surplus those items that Dan has listed.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The next is our police policies, 24-49. Any question on those new policies and police handbook? This is one I need unanimous consent on, so.
I'll move for unanimous consent.
Got a motion for unanimous consent?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now I need a motion to adopt.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll come back to this next one. I'll start it on here. All right, resolution 2024-50 is the surplus items from the police department. We've got a list of those. I hear that. Any discussion on that? Now, I need a motion to surplus those items.
I'm on.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chief, let's do a good part of the meeting. Let's swear in one of your newest officers. Two of them, I
We
see.
got two, come on up. So Cheryl and Jason both come to us with a great deal of experience, and we're lucky to have them. We interviewed quite a few people, and as always, we reject a lot more than we select. And I'm happy to have both of them on board. And Jason has been working out of state for a little while. He's got to go back to the abbreviated police academy, which I went through. If I can pass it, he ought to smile. So I'm really old. But guys, if you'll hold up your right hand and repeat after me. On my honor.
On my honor.
I will never betray my badge.
I will never betray my badge.
My integrity.
My integrity.
My character.
My character.
Or the public trust.
Or the public trust.
I will always have the courage.
I will always have the courage
To hold myself and others.
to hold myself and others
Accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
My community.
my community,
And the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And I always like to read a Bible verse too, and I looked up the statistics. There's been 110 officers killed in line of duty this year. There was 147 killed last year, and last year was a record year, and we're about on track to equal that, unfortunately. The Bible verse I like to read is John 15:12 and 13. This is my command, love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down his life for his friends. Congratulations. And is it okay if I do the other part too? I don't want to run afoul of Connie. Got our wires crossed, but no, we started our Explorer program roughly when I got here 4.5 years ago, and we evolved into a cadet program, Cadet Explorer program. But one of the goals of this program, in addition to having interaction with our youth and our police, which we know is very much needed in our country, it's to give youth an introduction to law enforcement and hopefully encourage and prepare some of these young people to get careers in law enforcement. And come on up, guys. Robbie's going to recognize two of our outstanding explorers that have achieved careers in law enforcement. And one thing that we stress is one of these young ladies is working for us, and the other young lady is working for Hoover Police Department. And we love to have them work for us, but we also want to prepare them to work anywhere, and we encourage that. And if they need assistance in trying to get a job, regardless of where it is, we will do that. And very proud of these advisors too. I've probably said this before, but some larger departments in much larger cities have a hard time getting advisors. And we have quite a few of our folks that do this advisor job, and they do an excellent job with it as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Grant. He's going to recognize our two here that have achieved employment in law enforcement.
So Clear and Emily both recently got jobs in law enforcement. We're super proud of them. Hopefully one day we can get Emily back, but who knows. We're very proud we've got to see them grow up. Essentially, both of them joined very young, learned a lot of leadership skills, and we're happy for them, but it's also kind of sad to see them move on too. So we wish y'all could stay part of the program forever. So we got y'all a little plaque thanking y'all for the years of being a part of the program.
And we're good. Can you do pictures? Because I want to send it to Durs's and tell him we're going to hire her back. You want me to make a picture? Short people in front.
Do we have a new dispatcher? Or are you gonna introduce a new dispatcher?
That was clear.
Okay,
That
okay.
was clear, yeah.
So she's staying with us.
She is.
One's going.
And like I said, we're getting the other one back too. She just don't know it yet.
Welcome aboard. We appreciate y'all. That's exciting. Good to have you. All right, next item on the agenda is the streetlight request from Union Station.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hello, my name is Bart Pitchford, and I'm an HOA board member for Union Station Neighborhood. Thank you for allowing me to speak in front of you tonight. I'm appearing before you to request that the City of Calera assume the cost of our neighborhood street lighting, including the power and maintenance costs. Union Station has 13 street lights already installed on the main and adjoining streets. These lights provide necessary illumination for vehicular and pedestrian traffic. Our greatest concern is making sure that our children in the neighborhood are not harmed by a vehicle at night. There are a lot of kids in our family-friendly neighborhood, and most of them like to play basketball and ride their bikes in the early evening. The street lights alerting oncoming vehicles to their presence with enough time to adjust their speed of driving is essential. In addition to safeguarding the kids, these lights also prevent vehicular accidents. Some of the residents, despite our objections, park their cars on the sides of the roads, which force motorists to drive in the oncoming lane. Street lights currently help motorists from the opposite direction see the oncoming vehicle in plenty of time for them to adjust. Finally, this request is similar in nature to the one that was approved on September 3rd, where the City of Calera assumed the cost of the street lights for Waterford subdivision. Union Station was completed, its third phase was completed in 2021. The city has taken possession of the streets now, and so now we ask that they take possession of the street lights as well. Thank you so much for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions from the council?
And you said how many streetlights you have now that's in?
13, sir.
13?
Yes, sir.
That's operating now?
Yes, sir.
And that's, right now, it's being paid for by the HOA?
Yes, sir.
You have an active HOA in Union Station?
Yes, sir.
Are you an HOA board member, you said?
Yes, sir, I am.
Gil, have you been out to see these street lights?
I've been out there, I don't know that I've visited one of them, but it met our regulations.
Didn't you do that?
It met our policy.
It has to meet the policy for the developer to install, correct? So that part of it's a given.
So if it meets everything that we asked for, and as he said earlier, it's the same thing that happened earlier. What do we need to do?
It's not the same thing that happened earlier.
What's the difference?
That was a homeowner association that disbanded. You're an active homeowner association, correct?
We currently are. There has been a disbanding of the HOA in the past when these streetlights were put into place. And then we rejoined as an HOA so that we could manage the electricity on them. So the streetlights were put into place, the HOA disbanded, the streetlights were no longer being paid for, and so the electricity went off on them. And in order to get the streetlights again paid for, the HOA reformed and has since been active.
So then, my question is, see, we helped out Waterstone because they don't have an HOA, correct? So, but if you have an HOA, they're responsible for the streetlights.
It wasn't Waterstone, man, it was Waterford, and they do have an HOA.
No. It was Waterstone.
We dealt with Waterstone, which.
Yes.
But there was, you also dealt with Waterford on September 13th. I saw it in the agenda, and I spoke to the HOA board member for Waterford who confirmed that you took over the streetlights for Waterford.
How about the Waterstone?
And we haven't, it was Waterford.
It was Waterstone. That was in September. Now, Waterford may have already had streetlights taken over. I have no idea. Not that I'm aware of. I don't think.
What date was that again, sir?
So the agenda that I found said September 3rd, that Waterford streetlights, it was the same one where you tabled the last motion for Waterford, they also had streetlights on that agenda.
Waterstone.
Oh, Waterstone. And the reason why we considered and took over it was for safety issues because they don't have an HOA.
If you're disputing that Waterford has the city paying for the streetlights and that it was recently taken over, I would ask them that you table this so that I can find the documentation and speak to the board member as well, because Waterford has had their lights taken over. I have spoken with the board member for Waterford who was here earlier tonight and confirmed for me that the city had taken their streetlights over. I would not tell you a lie, man. So if you would like to table it, I'm willing to do that and find more evidence to bring it into you, but I assure you that Waterford has had their streetlights taken over.
We have the document right here.
We have the last agenda, but I'm telling you that Waterford has had it taken over. Waterford has had their lights taken over. They have an HOA. I've spoken to the board member. He confirmed that for me.
You're talking to the arm of who would be paying, and you're not correct.
Would you please table the motion then so that I can find the evidence? Because the evidence that I found shows that it is correct.
You've asked to table it. So next on the agenda, the engineering on 16 and 31, Bill. You want to give us that rundown one more time with $12,000
Yeah.
expenditure?
Yep, go ahead and get the engineering started, that way we can get a good cost estimate and start negotiating with the county on some sharing.
I'm going to motion to move forward with that unless somebody else has got something.
I second.
Motion, 3 seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have our guests, and Jackie is on here from Main Street.
Thank you, Mayor. Just have a couple more things to talk about events, because, can't talk about enough events, right? I shared this with you during the last meeting. This is the fourth quarter, and there's a lot going on. Since we met last, just to recap it, we've had a successful car show, had a lot of great response from that, as well as the senior center was out here Friday having their health fair, and I think that was really good. I mean, it just has really proven that the community loves to be able to come out, and it's a nice central area. It's perfect having the covering there. I mean, every day we get compliments about the pavilion. It's really, I think, amazing and going to be put to very, very good use. We've got almost 20 other events between now and the end of the year. We've already talked about the ones coming up this week alone with National Night Out and Homecoming. Next week, on the 18th, I'd like to remind everybody and invite you all to the ribbon cutting for M3 Physical Therapy. That is the 18th at 10 o'clock. And there's an open mic night on the 19th, and then it goes on. And I'm happy to share this with you again. And we'll be doing as much promotion as we can to make sure everybody knows about that. So in terms of events, from the last time we spoke, we were talking about special events, and I've checked with other Main Street cities and the way they handle things, and I would like to ask that all of the events, as Mayor, as you alluded to before, anything done down there, we do it for the city. We are Main Street, but we are an arm there for working in, kind of co-producing. We're doing everything we do down there for the city. So I was wondering if we could say that all Main Street events are city events. We're not going to do anything that we haven't published for you and produce jointly. So all that does is say that if there's a vendor involved, that they don't have to have a business license. And we've already worked through that. Every event we have, Randy calls the day before and makes sure, hey, are you having any vendors with this one? And I think we've got a good system worked out to make sure that everyone's paying their sales tax and handling things smoothly that way. So I wanted to talk about special events, and I wanted to also request if it is possible for Main Street to be named as an additional insured with the city's insurance. Our insurance provider is asking about liability, producing these events for the city, on the city property. We need to address general liability there. And those are the two things I wanted to bring before you today.
I would say that the court certificate of liability needs to go both ways.
Okay, absolutely.
Wouldn't it need to involve, your insurance need to
Yes.
reciprocate with ours?
We'd be more than happy to do that. Our underwriters are just asking, since they are technically city events, I mean, we're a tiny nonprofit, we have D&O, and adding general liability, it can be extremely costly. So the way they've done it for other Main Street cities is they may produce an event or work an event, but it's technically a city's event, since it's on that city property, and that's the way the smaller nonprofit, doesn't have to carry such a heavy general liability.
And I would add, if you want my input on this, that the city should get recreational immunity for most, things that could happen out there. But I can come up with a couple scenarios where that would not be a 100% fix for any kind of accidents that happen out there. You would have to be using the pavilion for recreational use, and then you're immune. But say, a pizza delivery driver comes out there and, trips over a cable, something like that, he's not there for the recreational use, he could be required. So there is a need for insurance there, but I just want to let you know that y'all do have a good bit of immunity when it comes to any kind of claims amount of rights from that. But unfortunately, I could probably think of half a dozen ways that they can get around that if there are accidents out there. So the insurance, you're absolutely right, needs to go both ways.
Yeah, I don't think it's an abnormal request. I think it does need to go both ways within the court certificate of liability.
Okay. I'll give Brooks a call tomorrow, and if that's something that we can work together on.
I don't see a problem. I don't see a reason we shouldn't.
And are you okay with all of our events being special events?
Do we need to give a nod on that? I guess we have in the past, we have done special events as they arise.
Yes.
And you've given us a calendar and we've gone through the motions, but.
And I'll submit a 2025 calendar, by the new year. This just carries us through this year.
What's the council?
And there are very few that will have
I would
interest.
rather that we go ahead and bless it now and allow the events to go ahead, as far as I'm concerned.
Council tells me.
This is for business licenses only?
Just
Not
for
sales
vendors, correct. And it excludes food trucks. They always have to be licensed to the hilt and in good standing and pay sales tax. This is just if we were to have a pop-up event and maybe somebody, sells doilies, I don't know, cups, mugs, even cookies. If it's something that, it may be a one-time vendor for the whole year, and they may not make enough money to even cover a business license. So it just kind of covers the small startup, mom and pop type arts and crafts.
But Susan's right around the corner, so.
Yeah, Christmas is coming.
I like hearing about your events.
Thank you.
I hate, having to come, every few meetings asking, if we could blanket it with a simple solution, if that can be done.
Thank you. We're definitely trying to answer your plea for more events, and obviously, we're going to work together to take care of everything that you built down there.
And we give executive authority to have those special events, or deem those city special events. Any problem with that?
We got a motion.
Kelly, is there any issues with that?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie. Please don't forget the responsibility of
Yes, sir. We're going to figure all that out.
taking good
I'm
care
going to
of
put
our
some signs
facilities.
up, and I now have a very definitive answer for folks, and we will do our very best to corral it.
If you find any vandalism or any kind of damage to the property that needs to be dealt with,
Most definitely,
we'd like to.
and you're still monitoring all of the cameras, right? So, I mean, if anything was going on untoward after hours, I'm not there 24/7, but we will definitely do everything that we can to nip anything in the bud.
I see a familiar face in the audience.
Yes.
Sherry.
We have a guest, Sherry, if it's okay. This is the famous Sherry.
Yep, I'm Sherry with CSX Transportation.
All
And
right.
so I actually was just passing through and Miss Jackie said, we have a meeting, would you like to come join? And I thought, well, sure. Obviously, we are excited. We love what they've done with the downtown, the pavilion. It looks beautiful. But as the railroad, we do have a few concerns. And that is, there's a barrier that is supposed to be going up between the pavilion and the railroad. And that's all tied in, I think, with the crossing closures and things like that. So I guess I just wanted to follow up and see if there's anything that I can do from the railroad standpoint for the agreement for the drainage. Because that's what's holding up getting the land lease for Miss Jackie and her team to be able to move forward with the land lease, or for the city.
Where do we stand on that? Bill?
So one, I couldn't, we were changing financial software, so we were down creating POs for a couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
So I can create you a PO. Second problem I got is insurance that CSX requires. We're covered under our workman's comp, but the general liability and the umbrella policy that CSX requires, AMEC were not right. So we're gonna have to go out to like a third party, whether it's companies like Travelers and people like that, they'll do like E&O insurance and things like that. So we're gonna have to get a third party policy written to cover the umbrella and general liability portion of that insurance. So I think, what's his name? Ethan? Evan. Sent it out to do that, to fill that out, maybe Thursday last week or something like that. So I've got to get a policy written specifically for you.
What are they asking for, 5 million?
It's 5 million, but
was?
it's 5 million, I can't remember.
If we could, and this is.
It's not the amount.
Okay.
It's what y'all want, all kind of riders in it with guarantees of pollution, guarantees of this, guarantees of that, and AMEC says, we won't write that.
So have you attempted to redline?
Yes, and what we said, I think we had something that was ready to go back. We were just simply, the only issue was the insurance, and it just triggers a whole new line of insurance, outside of what we already have. So as far as the agreement itself, I think we're good with the agreement.
But AMEC won't cover the policy with the indemnification nor the riders of You brought the identification process. AMEC came back and said, we don't like that, and we also won't write everything that lists in there and talks about insurance over pollution, insurance over this, insurance, they said, we won't write that.
So if we could be given any relief over the
That's what I was
indemnification,
gonna say.
then that could very well.
Let's take that offline, and if you've got a red line draft, I'll see if I can get with our council and see if we can maybe schedule something later this week.
Okay.
To be able to go through that red line, because again, I'm just trying to figure out how we can expedite it so we can work with getting the barrier wall up, because that's, you know, from our standpoint, it's beautiful, we love seeing people there, but we also want to make sure that everyone's being safe, right? Safety's always our first concern.
So Brian, me and you and Evan can get together and
I think so. What I'll do is I'll put together I'll take a stab at redoing the indemnification clause and look to hope with Evan that we get something that's not going to trigger that coverage.
There should be a sovereign immunity clause because you're a municipality. And normally for our municipalities, there is sovereign immunity. And so a lot of times we just ask that you indemnify us to the limit of that sovereign immunity, because we are allowing you on the property or to, you know, do something on our property, and we just want that benefit extended to the railroad.
Well, I think we can definitely get it done. So
Yeah,
I think
okay.
Sherry, you might be our hero. Thank you for coming to the rescue.
I've been working hard with Miss Jackie for 5 years, and it is so wonderful to see it actually come to fruition. And so I've worked with Calvin and Kenny and several others, so, yeah.
So, council, before we allow, I want to tell you how Sherry came about. Jackie and I, we talked to Calvin. It's another guy.
Wagner.
Yes. And Calvin hooked us up with Sherry. And Sherry have been such a vital instrument in communicating with us, with the CSX and the city, and through this whole entire thing. She have been the person that have guided us, even on things that did not even relate to her department. She went above and beyond to help us. She would come down and we would go out to lunch, and she would share the information that we needed. We had no idea some of the things that we needed. And Sherry, just want to thank you again for what you have done to help us to get our city to look the way it does look.
Thank you.
Thank you so
It's been a
much.
pleasure working with you guys.
Thank you.
Is Alan Rouse here?
Good evening. So I originally had planned to present you all a list of facts and figures, but I kind of realized what matters here is my neighborhood has fallen through the cracks. First, we were let down by the original developer, J-Rock Development, who went bankrupt before completing their obligations. Next, many of the homeowners were misled by L&L Property Enterprises, who assured us our roads would be addressed once the development was actually finished. Now, as years later, working class, middle class neighborhood, we're stuck with a road that's not only become both an eyesore, but it's a hazard. We're a community of first-time homeowners, young families, single parents, and retirees. We don't have the resources or the influence to hold J-Rock Development or L&L Property accountable. That's why we're turning to you, to our local leaders, to ask for help in doing what's right for the people you serve. Since 2008, Ridgecrest Road has been used by the public, and it's my understanding that it's actually set to become a public road in 2028 under some vague Alabama laws. By then, however, the damage will be worse, and the cost of repairs will be far greater than they are today. This is not just about aesthetics. This road is damaging our vehicles and causing unnecessary financial strain on hardworking families. The impact on our community is significant, and we need your help. We aren't asking for favors. We're asking for fairness. We want to be able to take pride in our homes and our community. I respectfully urge you to take action by accepting Ridgecrest Road as a city road and evaluating it immediately for maintenance and improvement. Acting now rather than later will save the city time, money, and a lot of frustration from your citizens. Really, on behalf of the residents of our neighborhood, I appreciate your time. Any questions?
Bill, wasn't that We mentioned that during a council meeting a couple of weeks ago. And is that particular neighborhood in line to get repairs done? Because as Enclave, the developer left without sealing it and doing what their commitment was for the streets, correct?
That's correct. So you've got, the city of Clear has roughly around, say, 4 developments where the developer has left. Where there's no bond, developers left. And Ridgecrest being one of them. It totals up, if you add them all up, and it totals up to about $1 million worth of repairs. And so if you go back to, I think it was 2021, where previous city engineer had some software that ranked the streets in town. It drives it and it picks up different faults in the pavement, and then it ranks it based off of those levels of severity with that pavement. So Ridgecrest ranks 85th out of 190. So it's, as far as severity of the asphalt that's there today, it ranks about midway through the city. It's not one of the best, and it's definitely not one of the worst. So their cost to, like he said 2008. All I could find is when the final plat was recorded, and that was 2006. And based off of, and I know Butch had talked about a 20-year rule. If you go by that, and I don't know if the city has to adopt that for that to be a law, or if it falls under state.
And I would say that I think that, what Butch wanted to speaking to was, there's a 20-year prescriptive easement period in which something can become public use, but it can be dedicated, of course, anytime the city wants to dedicate it. But the city doesn't necessarily have to approve it or take it in or pursue taking it in after 20 years. It doesn't automatically become city property at that point. It becomes property that the city could acquire through prescriptive easement after 20 years. So there's a little, I guess, maybe misunderstanding as far as that issue goes. So it doesn't just automatically become dedicated. There's a lot of cases before the Alabama Supreme Court that have said that it takes some affirmative act by you in order to take in and approve the dedication of a road or any sort of improvement, sidewalk, etc. So it doesn't automatically become yours. You would have to basically take it or do something affirmatively to accept it, usually by resolution or your normal dedication process. But just simply platting something does not make it public either. There's all kinds of cases that say that as well. So just to clarify, it does not automatically become city property after 20 years.
So looking at Ridgecrest, your cost, so it doesn't have, it's got a couple issues. It doesn't have, the wearing course was never put on. It's got several areas of defective valley gutter, which I think you may be showing some pictures. In the gap there on the manhole, that's the wearing course, where the wearing course would fill in. But just the wearing course, you're looking at a cost around $90,000 just to put a wearing course on. That doesn't include any valley gutter repair. That would probably be somewhere around the $10,000 range. So you're bumping $100,000 to repair that. But like I said, it ranks, looking at just the street, it ranks 85th out of 190 streets.
So let me ask you this. On some of those, sir, some of your streets, as far as your entire street doesn't have to be replaced, right?
No, this entire street was never finished.
Okay, but there are some places that's in way worse shape as far as need to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, the road itself is
Not
only
the
a
whole
quarter
thing.
of a mile long. It only had the base coat down, it was never come back and finished. Developer went out of business, they only had a surety bond, so when they went belly up, that went away. Just on my basic figures, in the 4 years since the neighborhood's been completed, just in sales tax and property taxes, the homeowners have contributed $150,000 in taxes to this city. So we're just asking y'all to help us out. We don't have the means to do this ourselves, so we're just asking for pity and for mercy.
We'll continue to consider all the bad roads
I'd like for y'all to consider accepting it at least as a city road so we can kind of get in line if nothing else, even if it's years down the road.
I think Bill's, been taxed with the plan to come up with this council, so we know it takes money and time, so
I appreciate that.
we appreciate you coming.
All right.
Mike Phillips, I think, signed up. Do you want to say something? Public comment?
Just as
You right away?
opposed to Dunsmore, so I'll be back in 2 weeks.
You get you right away, worked out?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
So Mike, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
On the south side of 70, you got the 40 acres that butts up to Ringman.
Yes, sir.
And you have an easement in place for your piece of property.
That's correct.
And that easement that you have, you've been active on that easement from day one, when you purchased it, all the way through to now.
That is
At
correct.
that location.
Yes, in the same location, on Highway 70, through the property that's now known as the proposed Dunsmore subdivision, all the way back to our 40 acres. And continuous, and it's recorded easement from 1978. And I've given that documentation to Tammy, and still got it, so I'm just opposed to it. He has proposed an alternate access to our property, but it's not acceptable.
So he has access to that piece of property from day one in that area. The map, Kevin, drawn up now
I didn't,
from,
yeah.
that's been presented to
Right.
you, the easement to that piece of property. Is that easement in the same location of his paperwork?
I don't know where his easement is, I've never seen
Can
it.
you provide him
But
a
I know he
copy
has access to his property.
of that access to that property, where he can look at it on the map?
Sure. I've given that before, and I'll give it to you again.
Did you say Tammy has it? Yeah, I get it.
And if you don't, I'm easy to find.
Thank you for coming.
Thank y'all.
Jennifer, did you have something to say?
Yes, even though, good evening, everyone. Even though you have tabled this for him to come back, the proposal or the ordinance that you're putting on, that he's going to prepare, is that for him to also make sure he has the requirements from the 2014 before you move over to approving him with the master plan for Dunsmore? Because this is still going back and forth. If he hasn't worked with this man to satisfy his, and compromising with his property, he's not compromising and doing what you have requested him to do. And it's not just, we have, how many other, 5 other subdivisions that have canceled or stopped, went bankrupt with these other subdivisions. I am one. I live in Kensington Place. I've had 3 developers in our subdivision. And I already know some of the houses, the Horton was the first one, East Signatures, and Douglas Smith, it was another one. They only built 2 homes, but you have got to understand, this man or this corporation is coming in and putting in piss poor homes. They're going to be right next to each other. But then also, if he is required to do things before you actually can approve any other business with him, that's what I'm not saying. I see it in the ordinance, but I'm not understanding why he's still getting to come back. I mean, he can present all he wants, but you have not told him he needs to pay his, do what he needs to do for water, for the old water, for before he comes to you at all. You can say that to him. Because that's what we keep. There was a whole crowd of people, not just the police officers, that wanted to speak on behalf, because what he's trying to do is going to compromise our way of life. I appreciate the traffic light. Ms. Turner has worked hard. I appreciate that y'all putting that light at 70 and 42, but that's just not gonna be enough. Columbiana, they hightail it, coming straight through. The speed limit is gonna have to be reduced. It's 55, so it's gonna have to be reduced. But also, if you put another subdivision across from Waterford, all those small homes are gonna be just like the water. Go into Waterford, come to my subdivision and see the difference. Go into these subdivisions and see, and request some builders to come in and build actual affordable homes that people really want to live and can grow in, and not be crowded and smushed up on each other. But also the infrastructure too. That is all. Thank you.
Cisco, Nicola?
They are left. You said you tabled it.
Okay. That's all I have on my agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You may send it to you, James can add it. I was trying to do it.